This is my brutally honest review of The Sims 4 Life and Death. This is a part of a series where I give my brutally honest review of every single Sims 4 pack, including all of the older ones. Life and Death is a pack about all of the wonderful, joyful things in life: grieving, funerals, getting railed by the Grim Reaper. Let's jump straight into Create a Sim mode. I want to talk about the 3 new traits first. They are Macabre, which is like the goths, like Sims who like death and stuff. And then you've got skeptical Sims who don't believe in death and the afterlife, even though the Sims 4 is full of ghosts. And then you've got the chased by death trait, which is not actually a personality trait. It just makes your Sims more likely to die from certain things happening. So we got 3 new traits. One of them is okay, the Macabre one. The skeptical one doesn't make any sense. Like, you literally live in the Sims universe. There are occults walking around everywhere. What do you mean you're a non-believer? And then chased by death, it's not even a personality trait. It's just like a challenge. We have 3 precious trait slots in this game. Not that traits do anything anyway, unless you've got mootlit fetish. Playing with all these traits, honestly, I don't really feel like they did anything for me. Also, the new Macabre trait, like the interactions totally clog up your social pie menu. It's like My Wedding Stories all over again. There's also a brand new historian aspiration for human Sims, which is fine. Honestly, it's more like a mission. I genuinely don't know if EA understands what these aspirations are, because every time a new pack comes out, there's something different. This time round, it's not a tutorial. It's like a mini mission so that you unlock horror novels. So you can write horror novels. That's basically all it is. But okay, in terms of the actual Create a Sim mode, the pack comes with some interesting things that I didn't really expect. For example, stretchers, which I think is really cool. Female Sims get 9 hairstyles, and the feminine cast in general, I'd say, is quite strong. It's not my personal style, but I really like that they not only nailed the aesthetic of the Life and Death pack, but they applied it in a way that's quite diverse. For example, there's a lot of teen appropriate clothing, like modern stuff, but there's also a lot more clothing that looks old-fashioned for like adults or elders too. So there's like a diverse range of styles, but they all come under the same theme. The only thing that's missing, quite ironically, is funeral attire. There are some clothes that you could technically use at a funeral, but it's a bit weird looking. There's not actually any like normal looking funeral outfits, which I feel like kind of defeats the point. Male Sims get 7 haircuts, and may I say, they are giving so much forehead. We all like a bit of head, of course, but fourfold all at once, that's a little bit much for me. I can barely brush my teeth without gagging. As per usual, the masculine options are not the best, unless of course you're the average Twitter user, then I'm sure you'll love all the stuff that comes in this, but I just want normal fucking men's clothing. I don't want my male Sims looking scruffy and homeless. I don't want them to look like cute fanboy twinks either. I just want my Sims to look normal. EA, please just go and look in fucking Zara. I'm sick of men's cast looking like a Pinterest mood board. Some of it's okay, it's just there's nothing that normal. For example, they added a nice men's suit, but there's literally only one swatch. There's a lot of decent stuff for kiddos, including a little bit for infants too. They definitely made a lot of more effort with younger Sims in this pack. There's also a tiny bit of Victorian clothing that's Ghost exclusive, and I think it's great. As I said, they only added like 4 things, but I think it allows for great gameplay using a Ghost Sim that's been around for a while. I think the feminine and the kids options in this pack are actually really unique. Nothing we've ever really seen before. Male's cast is okay, but falls a little bit short. Create a Sim mode in this pack is not my personal vibe, but I think the kinds of people who like this kind of stuff, I think it's a really great theme, and I think they did generally quite well with the theme, so I'm giving Create a Sim mode a 7 out of 10. A lot of the build stuff actually looks really modern, whereas others looks kind of like Balkan or like Polish church vibes. I think the key selling point here is definitely all of the architectural stuff that comes in the pack. You can use it to make a lot of European style builds, because it's quite like old bricks and stuff. There are some unique decorations that we haven't really seen before. Like, it came with holes that you can put in the floor or the roof, and some big curtains with like an archway on them, which are nice. I also quite like the tarot cards that they used as paintings. And there's actually a really cool looking tarot card tent, although it's only decorative and it makes me really upset. I really miss the days that when Sims packs used to come with a lot of gameplay objects, because this pack, like many other recent Sims for expansion packs doesn't really come with that many new gameplay objects. There are so many fucking skulls. If you have a special interest, in fact, in skull fucking, then you're in luck, as pretty much every object in this pack is adorned with skulls. The obvious references to death were a little bit cheesy for me, but in general, this is actually some of the nicest design stuff we've ever had. It almost looks like Alpha CC, a lot of it. I think you'll be able to use the architecture for this really well if you're building like European churches or abbeys or something. There is a really huge issue with the build mode here, and that's because it's really incomplete and inconsistent. For example, there's a greenhouse roof texture and windows, but like no object to really put inside a greenhouse. Or they added some classic looking chairs, but the table in the pack is modern. Or like we got an old-fashioned bed and a modern bed, but we only got modern bedside tables and dresser and not the old-fashioned table and dresser. There's this weird mishmash of like modern luxe and like Victorian, and it doesn't work very well, and it's almost impossible to make a coherent build. There's a lot of wall decals and paintings, which make it look like there's more than it is. They've been doing this a lot in recent expansion packs where they add a lot of 2D art, but it's just drawings. Like they haven't made new object meshes. Do you know what I mean? So it makes it look like there's more stuff than there actually is, but it's just like Photoshop art. And even with all of this 2D artwork that's shoved in the painting category, we only actually got, I think, one brand new painting that looks like normal enough to put in a house. In a pack like this, you'd expect loads of classic paintings. Why haven't we got them? There is not enough to make a full build with Life and Death. In my opinion, an expansion pack should contain enough to create and furnish an entire house or other kind of lot. But with Life and Death, you can't really create a full build with it. You can use bits and pieces for a build, but you definitely need to own quite a few other packs and kits in order to make it work. To be constructive, I think they really need to have a concrete itinerary when they create new packs in terms of what objects are needed, testing out making builds to make sure it all works. I get the impression that the asset designers maybe just had free reign to do what they wanted. So as a result, everything looks really, really beautiful. This is some of the best aesthetic build stuff that we've ever seen, but there's a huge lack of overall direction, so it doesn't make so much sense for the player. So I think that would be useful for them going forward. I'm a bit torn because I really like the individual objects, pretty much all of them, but when you look at it as a whole, it's hard to make anything work, and there's barely any brand new gameplay objects. I'm giving build mode a 6 out of 10. I hate Sims 4 Worlds, so if you've seen my pack reviews before, you'll know I always give them a low score, although I do have some nice things to say this time round, especially compared to other more recent Sims 4 Worlds. There are 3 neighborhoods with a total of 13 lots, and the world is inspired by Romania. Honestly, I'm so disappointed we didn't get any more lots. When you look in the main town area, wouldn't it be amazing to have like shops and other kind of community lots here? But sadly, this is not The Sims 3. On the subject of community lots too, why does EA have such an obsessive phobia of avoiding functional community lots in their worlds? What kind of lawyer What kind of lawyer is doing their fucking paperwork in the middle of the town fucking square? What is their beef with normal functional community lots? I don't understand. Are they brick and mortar phobic? I think so. The upper area is like the netherworld, underworld. It's very ghostly, albeit a bit immersion breaking when you see Nancy Landgrab doing a casual jog around there. It's very pretty and my favorite area of the pack. There's a countryside area too, which is a little bit messy, to be honest. I think the builds in this world look quite nice in general. Okay. I'm sorry. This is not the fault of the EA creators who made any of the builds. I know Kate Emerald was a part of this. She is basically the best Sims 4 builder in the entire world. But the lots, okay, architecturally beautiful, but the actual like internal lots, they just look a bit odd, and it's not their fault. It's the fault of EA, firstly with their like restrictions, but secondly with the weird mishmash of modern and old fashioned. It all just looks a bit weird. I think the builders did an amazing job with the tools they had. You can see they were made by talented people for sure, but they definitely had a hard job on their hands. The pack comes with the brand new graveyard or cemetery lot type, and you can build that anywhere. Honestly, I can't wait to start building these in all my Sims worlds. I think it's really cool. Granted, this was a base game feature in The Sims 3, and it literally took 10 years to arrive in The Sims 4, which is pretty severe, but at least we've got it. Now, there's also a new lot trait called Hallowed Grounds. I have no idea what this is supposed to do. I think it's supposed to make it more spooky. I played for an entire in-game year and literally nothing happened on my lot, so maybe I was just unlucky or maybe it's broken. I have no idea. Now, quite a disappointing thing about this world is that seasons doesn't work at all. It rains. Of course, it rains in every Sims 4 world, but it doesn't really have like proper seasons, and I don't really understand why there's no seasons. Like when I think of Romania, I think of like Dracula's castle in the snow. Do you know what I mean? I assume they ran out of development time. That's the only reasonable explanation. Or should I say they gave themselves an unrealistic goal to release this by the 31st of October because it's Halloween, and as a result it was unfinished. That's my only reasonable explanation. They tried to add a little bit of lore with the townies in the world, giving some throwbacks to the main Sims timeline, but The Sims 4 isn't really in the main Sims timeline, and you know, like, this is The Sims 4. There's no real consistent lore in this game. I just don't really care. That ship sailed 10 years ago. Something I do give them credit for though is making this world feel a little bit more interactable this time round. Granted, this is The Sims 4's not open world, so it's full of rabbit holes which offer moodlet changes, but there's a little bit more to look at and click on and interact with. For example, doing some special quests or the in-game festivals. The festivals are mostly boring, but I think the side quests are actually a really fun small addition. Sims 4 worlds always have been, always will be tragic. They definitely did a good job with the design and making the world feel a bit more interactable than most other worlds in the game, but this is still a Sims 4 world, so there's only so far they can go. But for what it's worth, this is actually quite a good Sims 4 world and generally feels quite playable in comparison to all of the other worlds. So I'm giving the world of Life and Death a 6 out of 10, which is a low score, but it's high for me. Okay, looking at the gameplay, I want to go straight into the Grim Reaper career. I don't know why I overemphasize on straight then. Maybe I'm maybe I'm overcompensating for something. Okay, shut up. So it's a live career, meaning you follow your Sims to work. The career tasks revolve around reaping the dead, and there are some other tasks to do. Some of it's boring stuff like doing admin on the PC, but every now and then you'll have random unique assignments. I really enjoyed the career. As with all live careers in The Sims 4, it can get a little bit repetitive after doing it over and over again, but I think it's a fun thing to do if you alternate between following them to work and sending them in alone. Although I just want to say, I worked my bleached ass off to fulfill my soul quota for the week. I had to get 25 souls. It was a nightmare. What did I get in return? A 22 simoleon fucking holiday cracker. I'm fuming. I feel like the big reward for completing your soul quota maybe needs to be a little bit better, but in general, I like the job. Now, ghosts are also a proper occult with this pack, and you have a kind of like skill tree system where you earn EXP and exchange it for either good or bad or neutral powers. The game basically wants you to choose the bad powers. The good powers are shit. A lot of the gameplay revolves around doing bad things, so that's what you want to do, and I think it's really fun. Doing good and bad things, you unlock essences, ghost essence, kind of like the My Sims essences, and then you sell them to a special NPC, but that's it. I feel like it would have been nice to do more with them other than to just sell these essences. Maybe, I don't know, there just could have been something fun that you could have done with them other than just sell them. In general though, playing with ghosts, being around ghosts, I feel like they're generally a lot more fun. NPC townie ghosts, not very, like, they don't really do anything, but the ghosts that you play with yourself can be a lot more fun. There's also the inheritance system. So the will and inheritance system is what you think it is. Not only can you designate money and objects to give to other Sims after passing, you can also assign dependents like pets and children. again. It's a fine system, but a flaw is that Sims that live in the same household as you can't necessarily inherit things properly, like money especially. What if you have two children and you want to give them half each, but they both live in the same household, for example? You can't split the money. If they don't want to give us an individual bank account update, I feel like a good compromise would have been to do a check. So Sims will inherit a check with money and they can choose when to cash it in. Another flaw is that you can only assign heirlooms to teens and up. I don't know if that will be an issue for most people, but maybe for legacy players. After my Sim had died, by the way, there wasn't a will reading or anything. I did set up a will and I did also set up objects to inherit, but like nothing happened. I didn't even get a pop-up. So I have no idea what was going on. I don't know if it was a glitch or if it was purposefully silent. I don't know, but nothing really happened with it. There's then the bucket list or soul's journey. Bucket list goals are supposed to naturally form over time. In my case, literally no bucket list goals formed, and I had to set them via my PC every time. Allegedly, the goals your Sims write are based on traits, and I found that was true sometimes, but not all the time. Like my skeptical Sim wanted to befriend a werewolf in Moonwood Mill, which I thought was strange, seeing that she's skeptical of like occults and supernatural. Another was to create a wooden sculpture. She doesn't have the handiness skill. She's not creative, so I didn't really get why. They all just felt a little bit randomly generated. And also some of them were just stupid and weird. Like my Sim had a lifetime goal to spend the day in Willow Creek. Like, why is it your bucket list goal to spend the day in Willow Creek Park? Like, are you fine? I don't think so. That's a little bit weird. Some of them felt like they could have been completed in a day. Others felt like they would take a bit longer. There was just some inconsistency. Also, the bucket list goals didn't feel rewarding enough in my opinion, despite mostly complaining about them though here. In general, I enjoyed them in my game. I thought they added to the overall Sims experience. They need a lot of fine tuning in order to actually make them better, and I'm hoping some modders come in and add some bucket list goals which actually feel like proper bucket list goals, because I would say it's my favorite feature of the pack, maybe. I think it really enhances the base game experience and makes all your Sims lives unique and gives you a bit of direction in terms of what to do with them. My Sim actually died before she was able to complete her goal, so her bucket list converted into unfinished business, which is basically the same thing but when you're dead. If you're wondering how she died, she froze to death whilst dancing naked at a naturist festival. I did plan for my other Sim to die, but there we go. Shanice is dead now. So, okay, talking about funerals. Guys, the funerals were not buggy. I don't know what the flying fuck is going on, but they made an event which is not like glitchy. I'm just confused. I set a weird ass dress code and they followed it perfectly. They did all the event activities that I asked. The Sims even autonomously acted relatively normal. Obviously, this is Sims 4 stupid AI, but they behaved quite normally. I'm not saying funerals are perfect. The event activities were just weird. Like, they kept repeating themselves. Like, my Sim had to give a eulogy 3 times in the event activities, which is just a little bit ridiculous. There's also an oversight with the cemetery lot in the Life and Death pack, which is that it doesn't really come with like places to serve food or like anything to do, so you have to build it all in yourself. In general though, I'm just confused why funerals work. The event is supposed to be broke. This is a Sims 4 fucking event. It's supposed to be crap, but it's actually fine. I would rather honestly choke to death on my own phallus than sit through a Sims 4 event. But this one genuinely felt enjoyable. Like, I'm just confused. Anyways, after a Sim dies, their friends and family may experience grief. My Sim picked up the anger grief trait, and she was encouraged to do things like exercise to work through the grief of her sister dying or counseling. The system basically encourages you to work through the grief instead of waiting for the default sad moodlet to expire. Instead, it's just like every Sim has different mootlets. Every Sim goes through it differently. It's a small but nice addition, but fundamentally it's just mootlets. What do mootlets actually really do? Mootlets are a dead feature, so you might say the grief system is a bit of a dead feature too. After your Sim dies, if they complete their bucket list, they can be reborn as a random Sim in in a random household. I honestly just like, what is this? Why did they add this in there? I don't know if this is like an American thing. Like, I just don't get it. You actually get the ability to carry over your traits from your past life. So, of course, I decided to rebirth into the household of Judith fucking Ward. Your Sims retain the same facial features, but unfortunately, it does randomly generate your hair and clothing. So you'll need to sort that out. You can also totally change your Sims appearance too. It's up to you. You can set your age, you can change your relationship status, but only the non-romantic ones, like a sibling or a child. It's just a bit weird to me. Like, is Judith Ward just supposed to accept the fact that I've reincarnated into her household and now I'm her like long lost sister or something? Like, it just doesn't make much sense to me. Honestly, I don't really think I'll be using the feature myself. I think maybe it will be fun for certain people. I don't know. If you're a legacy player, you might enjoy the reincarnation thing. Something else that's actually really cool though is that Sims can permanently move on to the afterlife, so they will never ever appear in your game ever again, and they leave behind their plumb bob on the floor. I actually think it's quite cute. It's like they aren't in your control anymore. They've escaped the simulation. In terms of random gameplay features, there's a raven. You just like talk to it and stuff, and it kills you if you're a bitch to it. There's a basic tarot card deck that you can get from build mode, but you can also collect them, and this is where it comes in terms of exploring the world, because you have to explore around to get them, and you get them all in different ways. Tarot card readings to make money are incredibly bad. You click on any sim and they will just accept a reading for 30 simoleons, and it takes like 5 in-game seconds. You can also give a reading to yourself, and there's a small pop-up, but I honestly don't really understand all it does. I try to play around with it, I just don't get it. In the promotion and lead up to this pack, they were really pushing down on like this tarot card thing. Like, it was being hyped up so much, and I'm just really disappointed. The tarot cards don't do anything. There's also a journal that you can use to write a bucket list, or use basically like the diary with the Parenthood pack. There are some random festivals and events in the pack. One of them is OK, which is like a fun naturist meetup by the river. The other ones are just townies making food on a barbecue and doing press-ups. Nothing that exciting. In terms of general likes and dislikes about the pack, I like that the world feels somewhat engaging to live in. I like that it has replayability value, especially with the life goals. Even though I don't really get it, I think the rebirth system is a nice concept. I think the pack has some funny, chaotic moments in it. I like the ghosts. I like the whole vibe. I can see a lot of passion went into it. They always do supernatural packs very well. In terms of dislikes, there are constant pop-ups everywhere. We're talking pop-ups in the top right, pop-ups in the top left, pop-ups in the bottom left, pop-ups in the center of the screen. They're fucking everywhere and you can't get rid of them. I feel like this pack babies you along a little bit, and it's a little bit patronizing. People who play The Sims are not like idiots. Like, it's okay if the game's a bit challenging. We don't need to be handheld all the way through, and this pack is definitely extremely handholdy. You know, I've seen more challenge in Cooking Mama than I've seen in The Sims 4 Life and Death. I just think they need to stop being so afraid of making things difficult. Like, you don't have to make everything safe. We're not babies. Do you know what I mean? I also just want to reiterate like how underwhelming the tarot card system was. So I feel like maybe they got really passionate about designing these, and they all look really beautifully designed and they're very cleverly designed. But I think maybe they got too caught up in the design of it rather than the actual gameplay that comes with it, because The Sims 4 is a game. I'm sure they put a lot of effort into, as I said, designing them, but The Sims 4 is not a creative outlet to show off your, you know, designs like a museum. It's a video game and I want gameplay. So I'm a little bit pissed that there's not really any good gameplay with tarot cards. I feel like they could have gone so far with it. It would have been amazing, but it's not. I'm honestly praying a modder comes in and just like does something with it, because it has so much potential. Also, the price is absolutely diabolical, considering that you can literally get an entire video game for this price. In fact, cheaper, and it will come with hundreds of hours of gameplay and be very in-depth. In general, though, I just want to say Life and Death is probably one of my favorite packs for The Sims 4. I think it offers something we've never really had before, and we've got a lot of features in it. Compared to other Sims 4 expansion packs, it definitely feels very fleshed out. Even if you're rushing through everything, it still takes some time to complete all the pack has to offer. Life and Death is a good Sims 4 pack. It has nothing on The Sims 3 and The Sims 3 packs, but to the rock bottom standards of The Sims 4, it's really good. I mean, we got brand new kitchen counters, guys. This is the number one thing. This was the number one thing I was honestly seeing people talk about online about this whole expansion pack, the fucking kitchen counters. Rock bottom. So kitchen counters aside, Life and Death is maybe the most fleshed out Sims 4 expansion pack. I felt like there was a lot to do. I also think you'll appreciate this even if you're not into the supernatural stuff. If you remove the world, hypothetically, and just look at the gameplay, I think you'll obviously get value out of having funerals and the inheritance system. And in general, it just feels like there's a little bit of something for everyone, although you have to definitely be open-minded to supernatural stuff. If you're not, you probably won't really enjoy the pack. I don't really have any faults or issues with this pack other than a few snagging issues and things which I think need to be tweaked. Whether or not they do get ironed out is EA's prerogative, although knowing EA, they probably never will, as they and their shareholders already have your money. But Life and Death is a fantastic Sims 4 expansion pack in my personal opinion. It gets a 9 out of 10 for gameplay. The Sims 4 is a very buggy game, so we've got to look at bugs and glitches. Sometimes the bucket list goals don't always complete, not actually sometimes, pretty much all the time. Releasing a Sims 4 pack with one of the major features broken on launch is pretty standard for The Sims 4, but it's also pretty bad. The Ghost Historian aspiration completed itself, even though it actually wasn't fully completed, and the UI of it also glitched. I don't know if this is a glitch, but after my sim died, she lost her job as in the Grim Reaper career, even though I set her as a playable ghost. There was like no notification. I feel like that wasn't supposed to happen. I feel like if your sim dies but as a playable ghost, I thought they were supposed to keep their job, but she didn't. There are also some other small glitches with the career. In fact, the career was quite glitchy in many ways. For example, my sim kept getting the same pop-up notification every single day when she went to work. It was one of those ones where you have to like choose the outcome, but it was just the same one literally every day. Another thing that glitched with the career is that in the workspace, there's basically like a mannequin dummy on the floor that you practice reaping with. But when you actually go out into the real world to reap souls, sometimes the randomly generated townies will wear the mannequin outfit. So you're just constantly reaping mannequins as opposed to like real townies. Like it was 100% a glitch. The side quests can also be a little bit glitchy. For one of the side quests, for example, you had to ask a ghost about unfinished business at an Afterlife Anonymous meeting, but the interaction didn't appear, so I couldn't actually complete the task. So I have no idea what the ending to that was. At the Afterlife Anonymous Festival too, there's also a tarot card reader, but I couldn't actually ask her to give me a reading, so that glitched. I feel like most aspects of this pack glitched in some way, whether that be directly because of the pack or because of the base game or because of it interacting with other packs, I don't know. But either way, it was a very buggy experience. Not My Wedding Stories level bad. I could still do pretty much everything, but bugs should be a rarity in any video game, not a prominent occurrence that completely ruins the gameplay experience. As I said, they didn't like completely ruin it for me, like game breaking, but they were there constantly. So this pack gets a 6 out of 10 for performance. In terms of cross-pack play, there is so much with this pack. The obvious one is being the bucket list goals. There are basically goals containing stuff from pretty much every single pack. This is a huge key selling point for me. Having bucket list goals that interact well with other packs is so important. Also, if you die, you can actually bargain for your life with the Grim Reaper by doing a challenge, and if you beat him, you can revive. Like, there's obviously base game ones like chess, but there's cross-pack ones like a basketball, hopscotch, bowling. As I said before, with the wills in inheritance, you can assign pets as a dependent. The Parenthood pack journal has been updated for the life and death bucket list goals. The cross pack play is not perfect, and with so many packs out right now, I expect them all to work together nicely for the low cost of over $1,000. I expect them to work great together, but there were quite a few issues. Firstly, there is like a huge lack of cross pack play with paranormal stuff, and I just don't really understand why. I think they work well together, but there's no actual like cross pack play. Also, where are the pet funerals? I thought like pets would get some kind of like additions in life and death. Pets can't do shit. I am so disappointed. I feel like you guys would have loved like pet funerals, but there's literally nothing. And as I mentioned before, that like nothing changes with seasons other than rain. It's just like a permanent autumn. It's just so lazy. When the seasons pack was first released, they did not release a world with this expansion pack with the promise that it would affect every other world in the game, but it feels like they're putting less and less effort into seasons lately, and it's a shame. In general though, I think this pack contains cross pack play in all of the right ways. It falls short in some ways, but I definitely think the bucket list goals are great. I'm going to be giving this one an 8 out of 10 for cross pack play. My overall score of The Sims 4 Life and Death is a 7 out of 10. I think this is a fantastic Sims 4 pack. I 100% recommend it. Normally I'm such a bitch in my videos, but like I genuinely just enjoyed this pack. I thought it was cool. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future reviews, and you might want to check out one of the other review videos here. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.